Now, India's GDP grew just 3.1% in the first 3 months of this year, down from 4.7% in the previous quarter. It's a sign of how COVID-19 has further weakened already declining consumer demand and private investment in the country. Rebecca Bundan joins us now for more on this from Mumbai. So, Rebecca, get us up to speed then. These grim figures, things are set to get even worse, maybe?
Absolutely. We have to remember that these figures are for January to March, showing a growth of just 3.1% compared to 4.7% in the previous quarter. And these figures only include 1 week of the lockdown because the nationwide lockdown came into effect on the 25th of March. So it's really very much expected that the numbers will only get worse. In fact, Goldman Sachs is forecasting a 45% contraction in the following quarter's data, which we'll have to wait now a few months to see. There's also been fresh data that's come out today on core infrastructure output for April, and that showed a 38% contraction. So that gives us an idea of the kind of effect that we're going to see going forwards. And really, once the nationwide lockdown came into effect, that's when the economy ground to a complete standstill virtually, with most offices being shut, most shops being shut. Although things have started to slightly open up in recent weeks as the government has introduced some relaxations. But in a city like Mumbai, which still has a very high number of cases on a daily basis in terms of coronavirus infections, it really hasn't eased its restrictions a lot. It hasn't eased its restrictions at all, really, compared to some other parts of the country. And although the government announced that $266 billion economic package this month, a lot of analysts are saying that just really hasn't done the job as such, because it hasn't put cash into people's hands. It's more focused on long-term measures and loans, for example.
Rebecca, you mentioned that things are about to get worse. So what are the challenges does India's economy face as, it tries to restart after the nationwide lockdown?
This has really been a major problem. Having announced a nationwide lockdown that came into effect just a few hours after it was announced, and then what we saw was a lot of the migrant labourers in the big cities in India then returned to their home states, and there have been millions of them that have basically fled the cities. First of all, a lot of them were just trying to get home on foot, and now more recently there have been trains and bus services that have opened up as well, but they've left the cities. So while some companies are trying to restart work and resume factory operations and so on, they're finding that the labour is not there. So that's a major challenge for them to now sort of get the labour back. And also there's the problem of safe distancing in the workplace as well. And we've seen some factories that have resumed work, car factories in particular, where there have been confirmed cases of the coronavirus. So this is a problem, as the numbers are still rising in India, and we're seeing more than 6,000 cases on an almost daily basis added to those numbers. If the economy is opening up and more businesses are resuming, how do they try to ensure that the coronavirus isn't being spread? And they do have reduced workforces, and a lot of companies are, of course, if they are opening up, they are enforcing safe distancing practices. But the reality is it's very difficult, and if they have reduced workforces and so on, it means that their productivity is also being impacted. So this is really the major challenge as industries start to open up, including the aviation sector, which opened up this week. It's really not easy to get back to where it was.
Thank you so much for that, Rebecca Bundan, speaking to us from Mumbai.